I was stuck in a corporate job that I hated.
Most B2B consultants don't want to do social media.
If you try and serve everyone, you actually serve no one.
I've decided it's actually 95% mindset.
The no's that you will get before you get your first yes.
Starting a business is the best personal development you can do.
Yes. Most deals are lost in the silence, right?
Trust is one of the most important things.
Welcome to the podcast From Cold to Close. My name is Saeed and I'm the founder here at SRC Growth Partner, a growth company that helps professional services firms from around the world increase their revenue and profitability by acquiring new clients. My guest today is Anneve Hutchinson, founder of the Corporate Escape Club, a B2B marketing consultant with over 13 years of experience helping businesses grow. Anneve specializes in guiding corporate professionals through one of the biggest transitions of their careers, leaving the security of a corporate role to build their own successful consultancy business. Anneve, welcome to the podcast.
Hello, and thank you so much for inviting me on.
No, thank you very much for coming on. I'm really looking forward to this conversation because it reminds me of a time when I was stuck in a corporate job that I hated, and I wanted to leave, and I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to leave, and then eventually I took the plunge in starting my own business, and we are 3 years on. We are here where we are today, and very happy I made the decision. But many people out there probably are thinking about it, have thought about it, or not even thought about it, right? But the concept appeals to them, right? And so I think this conversation is going to be interesting for a lot of our viewers and listeners out there. But before I jump into kind of the protein of the conversation, I guess I want to, for our viewers and listeners out there who may not know who you are, maybe you can take the floor, share a little bit more about who you are and what the company is all about.
Sure, thank you so much. Yes, the Corporate Escape Club. We created that, my business partner and I, Emma, just at the end of the pandemic, because networking had gone a little bit strange during that time. And we thought, we could create something for people like us, B2B consultants who have escaped a corporate job and created their own consultancy business. So it was born from our own consultancy. We have had that now together for about 14 years. We met at a networking event many, many years ago, and we thought we were competitors to begin with. And then we had a great conversation and realized we actually could have a business together. And that's how that began. So that's that part of it. I left corporate life now, getting on for 20 years now. And I didn't particularly want to leave. I loved my job. I worked in marketing for an airline. But once my children started coming along, I began to realize this is going to be a really difficult juggle. I had to do a lot of traveling with my work. And I had that experience one day where I was getting my eldest son ready for his childminder, and she called to say she couldn't have him. She wasn't very well. And I was running late, and the biggest problem that day was the person I was about to see for a meeting was already in the air coming over to see me. So there was absolutely no way I couldn't be at that meeting. I certainly couldn't say childcare issues were the problem. Fortunately, my husband took over that day, but it was one of those moments where you realise that much as you love your job, you love your career, you know you're going to have to do things a little bit differently. And so by the time my second child came along, again, my company had been super, flexible. I'd gone down to 3 days and that worked really well, but I just knew I couldn't be late for everyone every single day. Getting 2 kids ready is one of those things. Yeah, so I left and I created my own marketing and web consultancy, and then 6 years later met Emma and went from there. So it's a bit of a potted history.
I love it. And so it's always interesting to hear the journeys to where you are today. But I think in terms of the Corporate Escape Club, where was the aha moment? Obviously, you have your own marketing consultancy and that type of stuff. What made you go into the direction of, I want to help those in a corporate job as well?
Yeah, great question, because it was Emma and I met networking. That was how we got together. And we built our business together very much on networking, on who we knew, on who they knew, and getting referred to various people. So we absolutely believe in networking being a great way for a new business to start, and we grew to 6 figures as a result, really mainly of that tactic and that strategy. But what we also realized as we were networking and meeting people, that when they asked us about marketing, we used to run little marketing workshops for solo business owners. They'd look at us and just go, I just don't know where to start. I don't know where to begin. And then they'd start working with people who didn't quite get the B2B world. and they would buy things that weren't necessarily the things that were going to get them clients. And they just didn't have the budget because they were in startup to really get any help, particularly because marketing advice tends to be on the B2C side of things. And most B2B consultants don't want to do social media. They don't want to be loud and proud on all the different platforms. And so they kind of shy away from it. It's a bit of a broad brush statement, but I think it's reasonably true of the average strategically minded, considered, thoughtful B2B consultant. And so we really felt that. And also we knew how fortunate we'd been in meeting each other and having each other to talk to and bounce ideas off of. And we just thought, you know what, could we fill a room with people just like us who have our same sense of humour and remember corporate life and had various reasons for escaping. You know, as I said, I love my job, but some people, it's been redundancy, it's been ill health, it's been family reasons. And yeah, so it grew from there and people are loving it and enjoying the time that they spend with us.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. I think you mentioned a really interesting point in the sense that there's a lot of marketing advice out there that focuses a lot on B2C, right? And you're absolutely right. B2B marketing, it's a different kettle of fish when it comes to what's actually going on. And content is becoming king more than anything else, and educating the market and actually showing your expertise and things like that. Talk to me about some of the strategies you teach your students and those within the Corporate Escape Club focus.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And that's a great thing for B2B consultants because what we're really good at, generally speaking, is words. Whether it's writing them or speaking them, some of us are braver and do video more than others and podcasts and the like. But the written word, I think, is what we're used to. We're used to writing, reading long reports, for example. And I think we're in our comfort zone when it comes to writing. And so sharing content let's start at the beginning. What do we need as an independent B2B consultant? Well, we've got to start with a plan, haven't we? We've got to have a vision. What kind of business do you want to have? And I've split us into 4 kind of camps. I don't know if this speaks to you at all, Said, but this is how I look at it. So you can either be a lone wolf, where you work on your own, you're hunting for your business on your own, you're delivering it on your own. You can be perfectly happy as a boutique consultant doing that kind of work. Or you might be a pair of swans. You might be fortunate, like I've been, to meet a partner who you get on really well with, and together, and maybe with a small team of VAs or associates, you can build a consultancy together and be a pair of swans out in the world. The third type, I think, I call a pod of dolphins. So in my world, that's where a few people get together as business owners, as directors and partners, and then they employ experts in a boutique consultancy. It might be a multidisciplinary consultancy, but generally speaking, the members of staff within that business are all experts and consultants themselves, headed up by a small team of directors. And then the fourth kind are the stable of experts, the horses that are going to run together to collaborate and maybe form some kind of a consortium so that together they can win bigger projects. It might have somebody leading them. They might be white labeled underneath a black brand, or they might all just work together to win a bigger project. So to know what kind of consultant you want to be, I think is really important. And because you start the way you mean to go on. If you start in one way and then you decide to change, that can be tricky. I think it's also really super important to understand what kind of revenue level makes sense to you. And there's so much talk, isn't there? 6 figures and 7 figures and all the like. But actually, I think a lot of people just want to be able to replicate their corporate income and be able to make sure they can also recreate the benefits that they had. But that most importantly of all, they have freedom and control over their time. That's the most important thing. Most of us are on the more mature side, shall we say. We've had a corporate career behind us. Few of us have probably burned out a little bit. And now it's all about trying to get some balance. And I don't particularly think balance is possible, but I definitely talk about having a good blend, a work-life blend. So having that vision is really important. Secondly, I think is critical is to specialize. It's to have some form of expertise in some particular area. Yes, you're probably brilliant and you can help everyone with almost anything. We're a very talented lot. However, to get some cut through in the market, to really stand out from the competition, it's very helpful to know the problem that you solve and the promise that you offer as a result of solving that problem. And the final, I've got 12 altogether, but the third, and I think if you can nail the first 3, I think you're good. The third one is to know who an ideal client for you would be.
Sure.
And again, that's not just about knowing market demographics and all that kind of thing. It's also understanding the values that you appreciate in them. One of our soft attributes that we wanted an ideal client to have was that they were smiley. It meant that we worked with really great people. It was one of those really good filters, and everybody who we say that to smiles. It's great. And that was really important to us. So I think once you've got those three things solved and in your head quite clear, then you can land and expand from there. You don't have to stay there forever. As you grow, you might well expand beyond that and original niche. But I think that's a great way to start.
I love everything you've said there. And I think 100%, three pillars that you mentioned there, established businesses don't even think of those three pillars when they start off, right? And so starting off with that goal in mind allows you to start off in the right foot, right? Understanding your ICP, understanding that you need to, like, for example, markets are more sophisticated now, more loud than ever before. And so you need to be able to actually cut through the noise. And the way you do that is specialize and niche down and be an expert in that one niche, and so on and so forth. So I couldn't agree with you more.
And it's the thing I get the biggest pushback on, to be honest. I'm sure you've had the same yourself, because it does feel so limiting, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But when budgets are tight, when your time is really limited, that extra focus just makes such a difference, doesn't it?
Yeah, 100%. It's that saying, isn't it? If you try and serve everyone, you actually serve no one, right? And it's really the case when you are an expert as well, and when you do specialize. What you can do is what you can afford to do is you can actually charge more than you would otherwise be able to charge by being a generalist for being a specialist, right? And so then you need less clients. So you need to find those fewer clients that are the right ICP, and then off to the races you go.
Then
right?
we're off, aren't we? I mean, that's the dream, isn't it? I think the average B2B consultant, I think the dream is to have between maybe 6 and 10 clients.
Yeah.
And to be doing fantastic work that you love delivering with people who really appreciate and value the difference that you're making. It sounds like a dream to me. I love that concept.
Yeah, without a doubt. So in your own experience and what you've seen, what's the difference between someone who successfully transitions to a 6-figure consultancy versus someone who struggles? Is it a mindset thing? Is it strategy? Or is it something else? What do you think?
Great question. Yeah. I used to say that I think it was 50% strategy and 50% tactics. But now I'm a bit more experienced in this world, spoken to a lot more people, and I've decided it's actually 95% mindset, 5% strategy and tactics. Now, strategy and tactics, I think, are vitally important. We can waste so much time. I certainly did at the beginning, wasted a lot of time because I kind of just wanted to do anything for everyone and, wasn't particularly picky. So if we can get those strategies down, and if we understand what effective low fee or low cost, if not no cost marketing tactics looks like, then all to the good. But if we don't then take the action, if we then aren't resilient in the face of setbacks and knockbacks, if we're all not particularly good at self-promotion, shall I say? We're all about the delivery of fantastic work. We don't particularly want to promote ourselves, but if we don't, and we don't get the courage, the commitment that we need to really keep going, then I definitely think we're going to struggle.
Yeah. No, I think you've hit the nail right on the head there. And it's, for me, one of the biggest things I needed to get over when I started the business was the constant failures that you will experience without a chance. Like the no's that you will get before you get your first yes. Like the consistency required, the actual showing up every single day and doing things that you without the security of having a job, right? Or of having a corporate job behind you. And so it's really important. I think mindset is a huge element. I don't think that I would be where I'm today without the mindset that you need to have to be able to get it, because you will give up before it even gets to the place that you need it to get to.
Absolutely. I think starting a business is the best personal development you can do.
Yes, absolutely.
You're going to face every fear, aren't you?
Yeah.
Every challenge, every possible side of your personality and your character is going to be challenged. And that's what makes it fun. But that also means you've got to look after yourself, your mindset and your mental health throughout it all, because, that's your most important tool, really.
Yeah, absolutely. So you mentioned there that 95% would be mindset and obviously 5% tactics. And tactics can change with the wind and things like that. But what are typically, in your opinion, the most important tools for someone to start? And what are the tactics that you would promote in the sense that this is what you need immediately to be able to get to where you want to get to.
Sure. It's going to be a little list, but I think the beautiful thing about a marketing strategy for B2B consultants is it's very linear. It's like if you've got to do things in a step-by-step way. If you jump ahead and leave a gap, it's not going to be helpful. So you've got to understand, this is still strategy for me, understand who you are and why someone should work with you. I think your positioning, your credibility, your stories, case studies are really important, because if you want to go for the real premium projects, you're going to be looking and they're going to want to know that you've solved this problem before successfully. They want to know you've got track record. They want to feel confident that you're just be able to get straight in there and start solving problems quickly. So a little bit of self-reflection is important to understand who you are and why you do what you do. I also think it's very important to, at the outset, to have a very clear service ecosystem. So this isn't so that you're just kind of sending out prices on pat, but it does definitely helps you stop you creating proposals at 2:00 in the morning and spending hours and hours on them. I'm sure you've been there. We've all been there. But if we can create ourselves a little framework, a fee framework, and typically that looks like some starting point with a client where you can just start getting to understand what's going on for them and start giving them some helpful thoughts and ideas, moving into something that you can really fix and really dig into and get sorted out for them, and then some kind of support role, then I think you've got a nice flow of services and you've got a good feel for the fee that you're going to charge. And you don't know to begin with what that fee might be. Is it going to be a finger in the air kind of possibly, unless you've got some real insight into what the fees might be, which is helpful if you've come out of a company where you had view of that. But if not, you're just going to give it a good go and you're going to probably say, I should have charged more. It's going to be typically that's what's going to happen. So I think understanding that about yourself just gives you that strength and that confidence to step out really confidently. From there onwards, yes, we're into the tactics. It's about making sure that your online profile is really clear so that wherever somebody comes across you, you're saying the same thing, the same message everywhere. And then it comes down to the content. So that written word that we talked about, a raw, original content. And although, yes, we've got ChatGPT, we've got all these tools now to help us with it, there's really no excuse. I used to have the excuse I haven't got the time to write. No, all of those excuses are gone now. But it still has to be your raw content, doesn't it? It has to be what you know to be true about the problem, the typical challenges. It's got to include stories and examples that ChatGPT just can't bring into it. It's got to have that experience running through it. And if we've done that work, if we created that content, and I'm talking about the kind of marketing tactics here that cost very little money, that anybody should really be able to do them. You should be able to start a consultancy with your computer and your phone, essentially. They're your biggest investments required. Because you write this content and now it feeds the rest of your marketing plan. So now you've got something to post on your website as a blog, and that might start working for you in terms of SEO. And even if that's not a thing, when people look at it, maybe you've sent out a proposal and somebody in the business is going, who's this person? Why should we work with them? They can go and check you out and see that you say on there exactly what you've said in the proposal. And so you've got that nice blog content or podcast or vlog, whatever suits you best, your personality best. And from there, now you've got some stuff to post on LinkedIn, right? You've got some content to start talking about. And let's say you are super busy, I want you to be, then your VA or your marketing person has got something to work with. They know what you're all about. They can use that content and they can distribute it for you. LinkedIn is obviously a core part of the process. So also, we've talked about networking, but in my opinion, events where you can meet people, obviously, ideally your ideal clients, are really important. And if you haven't done that ideal client work, you can waste so much time at events. Now, in my opinion, very little time is wasted at events. It's always worthwhile meeting a new human being, isn't it? And having a great conversation with them. Yeah. But also, if we're not a little bit targeted and careful, we can spin our wheels for quite a long time, because in the rarefied world as a B2B consultant, not everybody understands what we do. We do quite specialized things that the average, business owner might not exactly know where we fit or how to refer us. And so being in those industry rooms and conferences and seminars and higher level networking rooms can be really effective and helpful, and often helps you leapfrog, I think, lots of the marketing work that you might otherwise have to do. In addition to that, I love email marketing, always will do. It's just a great way to get in front of people. And then you've just got to get yourself a really consistent marketing presence out in the world. And as you said earlier, consistency, keeping on and on, even when it feels like no one's listening, is what's critical, particularly in the early stages.
I think it's really interesting you touched on all those, because the presence, and the two things that kind of hit me there was the fact that having a strong presence, but congruency of messaging, right? Like making sure that everything that you're saying is everywhere that you can be found, right? And there has to be a consistent message there. If you're all over the place, when someone comes to look you up, and they will, if they like what you're saying, they will eventually move away if there's no actual consistency in what your messaging is. So 100%,
Exactly. Yeah.
love that.
Yeah, we love that golden thread, don't we, running through everything. And I do speak reasonably regularly to business owners who've got 2 or 3 things on the go at any one time. I have the greatest respect because it's a lot, right? But then again, it's even more important to get that clarity around your messaging really nailed down.
Yeah, couldn't agree with you more. So in terms of then LinkedIn being a core pillar there, and you mentioned, what are the biggest mistakes you see consultants and coaches, I guess, making in LinkedIn, and what should they be doing differently instead? Yeah.
Good one. Yeah, I've got a little bit of a different take on this one because I tend to feel that we're all or nothing when we're consultants. We're either absolutely on it and we go for it for 3 months solid, and then we absolutely fall off the bus and we're not seen again for 6 months. Or we think maybe one post a month is plenty, and neither position is sustainable, is it? So I do believe we need to have a consistent presence as frequently as possible. And sometimes it's not possible, but I think it's one of those things we've got to aim for. I think some people fall off their chair a little bit when we talk about how frequently that needs to be. But I think a good solid 3 posts a week is what we need to be aiming for realistically, because the algorithm means that our people are not going to see it every single post. We need to be more than just posting there, of course. We need to be connecting with the right kind of people. Again, we're back to the ideal client avatar. That makes that work a lot easier if we know who we're looking for. And LinkedIn is one of the why I like it so much is we can find people by job title. Yay. It makes life a lot easier. And we can reach out to people and ask them to connect with us. And they say yes. It's just nice. So that's helpful. And of course, being present on that platform is always important, isn't it? Always commenting and engaging what's going on. Much as we might get some help with LinkedIn from somebody putting the content together, we've still got to be in there. We've still got to be in the mix. But the different take I have on it is that though I'd won plenty of clients through LinkedIn, I think there's a temptation to just rely on it and to say, no, I'm on LinkedIn every single day and I have been for 6 months and I haven't got any clients. What's going on? Well, the way I think B2B works is you go meet people. Go meet people in the real world, at events, at networking events, speak to your network, speak to people who might know people. And now when you connect with them in the real world and then they see your content on LinkedIn, well, now you're real to them, aren't you? You're not just a passing person on a scroll. They've connected with you energetically. They know you as a human being. They picked up on your energy. And it's just a lot more powerful. So then if you connect them in real life and then you're doing nothing on LinkedIn, then there's just this gap, this silence that happens that's just not so helpful. So everything's integrated.
Couldn't agree with you more. And it plays onto the know, like, and trust factor, right? So anyone that's ever going to do any kind of business with you or bring you onto a project, they need to know you, like you, and trust you. And obviously going out into conferences, you kind of solve for that knowing and liking element, right? So they know who you are and then over a period of time, they will learn to trust you. And if you have content on your LinkedIn, if you've connected on LinkedIn, that trust can build over time. And then you will eventually close them in the back end if you're consistent, if you're showing up, if you're doing the work that needs to be done to actually grow the business, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Know, like, and trust, I think, is probably the basis, best basis of all, isn't it, for all marketing? And I think right now, trust is one of the most important things. Everybody's become, quite rightly, quite cynical, quite untrusting. There are a lot of promises being made and a lot of promises being broken. And again, if people are just promising these broad, general ideas, it's just, you're not going to stand out from the crowd, are you? So if you can meet people, make that energetic connection with somebody, you leapfrog over all the other digital marketing efforts that you might otherwise need to make. And then when they have that need and they've seen you recently on LinkedIn, by email, you're the person who's there, your name is going to surface and they'll be that bit more likely to reach out to you.
Yeah. Staying top of mind, so important in everything. I love it. And I found this conversation really, really great. And I could talk about this all day, but we have to jump into the next segment of the podcast, which is what we call the Entrepreneur's Room. And that's a series of questions we'd like to ask all of our guests to give our viewers and listeners an opportunity to understand how business owners and business leaders think and operate when running their business. So at this stage of the podcast, I always like to ask the same question, which is, how are you currently spending your days as a leader of the business?
Great question. Well, good question. How am I spending my days? Most of my days are spent coaching and speaking to small business owners. So that's what I love doing. I'm in my absolute purpose in life. You know, my parents had their own business as well. It's in my blood to want to help people to build small businesses. So it's for me, business has always been about relationships and not quick fix relationships. It's about spending your time in a way that you know that you're nurturing relationships that can actually turn into friendships a lot of the time. And running your own business can be quite lonely, can't it, if you haven't got a team around you. And so I think the idea of trying to make sure that your time is best spent speaking to other people, developing relationships, helping people to get to know, like, and trust you, as we've talked about. I think that's probably the best way to spend time as a leader when you're in a very small business, let's say. If you're solo or on a partnership, then I think that's the most effective way to spend your time. And that's certainly the most effective way that I spend mine.
I love it. Love it. As a business leader, and obviously you've run your own consultancy for many, many years now, and this new business, what are the most important metrics for you when running a business?
Well, we're all built a bit differently, aren't we, when it comes to metrics? And I'm certainly on the analytical side of things. Marketing, you have to be, right? It's that beautiful combination of creativity and science, and because you've got to be measuring everything that you do. But again, I'm going to say the same things, I think. You know, your client relationships are so important, to keep in touch with them, to not go silent on them. I mean, I'm hearing a lot at the moment where people have started working with a company and then they've just gone quiet on them. They've ghosted them. They're probably getting on with the work, but we've no idea if they actually are or not. And so I think communication always, and more communication than you think is necessary, is probably best of all. So so that's where I would go with that, definitely.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. I think communication is such a key factor in any kind of client relationship or any kind of relationship, because most deals are lost in the silence, right? Or most clients will leave in that silence, and anything can happen in that gap. And just having consistent touch points is super, super important to ensure a relationship actually is intact.
It really is. I mean, certainty is what we're all looking for, isn't it? That our money's been well spent, that it's been invested well, that we're going to get a return on our investment. And I've had an experience recently working with somebody that we've recommended to people for years for the work that they do. And really, you know, I don't know how much business we've sent them over the years, a lot. And then recently we needed to do a project with them again, and they started strong and they completely disappeared on us. For weeks and weeks, in spite of chasing, emailing, calling, everything. They were just not responding. And finally they did, and finally the job got done. But do you know what? Cannot recommend them again. Cannot. That feeling of like, where have they gone? What have they done with the money was just awful. And that for me is trust is broken now.
Yeah.
It's a bit brutal, but that's where I'm at.
No, you're 100% right. And that's what a lot of people don't realize. And the relationship is built on trust. And if you do not feel like that trust is there anymore, then you're never going to get the benefits of whatever would have been on the other side of that. And as you mentioned, relationships are king, especially in B2B, right? B2B relationships are king. And having those kinds of relationships always helps.
Well, we're working always in association with other people. We're bringing teams together often. We're making projects happen. We're getting things started. We're definitely getting things finished and over the line. Our reputation depends on it. And over the 20 years that I've been running my own business, I can count on one hand the associates that have always had my back, always communicated with me, whether things are going right or whether things are going wrong. I've known I've been able to manage client expectations as a result of the communication. I have known for an absolute fact that they would never, ever let me down. And I will go back to them time and time again.
I love it. I love it. So in terms of your own business, how are you currently growing the business? What kind of business development activities, sales and marketing activities are you doing to grow your business?
Although the key one at the moment is our own networking events that we run at the Corporate Escape Club, where we invite our members. We've got a community of corporate escapees, and we have a little platform, which is like a little mini LinkedIn, really, where I share B2B advice, tips, support, mini marketing challenges, that kind of thing. I've also got my 12-step course in there on how to create a 6-figure B2B business. So that's behind the scenes. But on the front end, we run networking meetings where our members come along and we invite guests along. People can come along. And we do it a bit differently. So I love the way that we do it. I don't think it's so uncommon these days, but it was back then. So we'll do some very brief introductions. So we don't do any 60-second pitches. You know, that awful thing that a lot of people dread, particularly when you're an introvert, right? And I'm an introvert. I'm not a fan of doing
I'd
all
never
that.
have guessed.
I know, nobody can, but don't tell anyone, but I am. And that's why I created my own networking group, so that I could do it my way, the way that suited me. So yeah, we'll do very brief introductions, and I ask people, what's your name, what's your occupation, what's your specialist subject, please? And everybody goes around the room and explains the bit that they absolutely love working on the most. Then I'll share a B2B nugget, which is just a little 10-minute piece on a tip or a tactic that you could deploy to grow your business. And then we pair everybody up. So I've done a job beforehand of looking at the list of attendees, and I've decided who I think could meet one another and have a great conversation. And we pair everybody up the room for around about 15-minute one-to-one conversations. And then we swap, and then we swap, and then we swap. So you've had a really good, strong, solid conversation with another human being. And often I'm putting competitors together because guess what? That's how Emma and I got together. And although it's scary, it's sometimes great to have a conversation with somebody who gets what's going on and what you're dealing with. Sometimes I might put people together where I feel like there's just some common energy or personality trait that I think they're going to have a really great chat. And I'm very, very strict when I say this is a two-way conversation. Sure. We B2B consultants can get super, really passionate, shall we say, about our subject and talk about it a lot. It's really important to be able to have a two-way conversation. So that's the key way. I run webinars as well on how to start and grow a 6-figure business. But that's the growth tactic that I like the most because, again, it's everybody in a room together, sharing their stories, understanding their reasons for escape, and then going forward as a power team, supporting one another, kind of finding their new workplace community that they've lost since leaving corporate, that they've now gained as becoming part of the club.
Absolutely love it. I love it. Obviously, you've been running a business for over 20 years now and very vastly experienced in the world, I'm sure. What are the biggest lessons you could share with us today?
Lessons, yes, lots of lessons. I was working in my mum and dad's printing business from 8 years old. Can you believe that? They got me doing the filing. I know. It was a good grounding. Best lessons. Choose work you love. And I know that feels really difficult when you start out because as an employee, you're generally given work to do and you have to get on with it. You can't really, choose. But I think it's so important. I talk a lot about ikigai, which is the Japanese concept, the reason for living. And now, not everyone can incorporate all of those things into their working life. But when I'm helping someone create a strategy, that is what I want to bring together. I want you to be bringing your skills, your interests, what the world wants and needs, but also what you can get paid for. And making sure those 4 things are working for you are vitally important because if there's one thing I talk about a lot, it's about making sure that your offer, that there is commercial demand for it. So yes, we want to do work that we love. Yes, we want it to be in our business genius zone. Using those skills that we've developed over the years. But if there's no commercial demand for that thing, then we've got to try again. We've got to keep looking for that piece of work that people are going to go, absolutely need that. You need to be able to put together a really irresistible offer that makes people say, I need it. I want it in my life right now. Where do I sign? And so creating that concept, I think means you can really start a business strong. You can evolve it as you go. This is not set in concrete. We're always evolving our businesses as we live and learn, as we meet different people, as we discover and find where those little seams of interest might lie. But let's start as we mean to go on. My line is we want to attract the best clients, but we're very happy to welcome the rest. But if we don't think about the most enjoyable work and the people we most enjoy working with, then we're going to perhaps not be as happy as we could be.
Absolutely love it. Anneve, it's been an absolute pleasure speaking with you. It's been a great conversation.
You too.
I like to end every single podcast with the same question, which is, if you had a magic wand you could wave to solve one of your business problems, what would that be?
One of my business problems. I'm just loving what I'm doing right now. But if I had a magic wand, I'll tell you exactly what I would do. I would be Mrs. Christmas. I'd be giving B2B contracts out to all these amazing consultants who are brilliant at what they do, but just not as comfortable or happy in promoting themselves. And putting their heads above the parapet and saying, hey, I'm great, come and work with me. Why does it have to require all that marketing and sales work? I'd much rather be able to be handing them out left, right, and center. Because if there's something I know for sure, it's that B2B consultants absolutely love getting stuck into a project and solving a really big business problem.
Amazing. Fantastic. And Anneve, again, it's been an absolute pleasure speaking with you today. It's been a great conversation. For all those out there who might want to reach out to you, where would they go? How would they find?
Absolutely. Please go to www.thecorporateescapeclub.co.uk. And if you go /book, then you'll see our upcoming meetings and you'll be able to book your place on there. They're free to come along. We refund your deposit. As long as you attend the meetings, you can come along and just enjoy some time with us. So that would be great to see you.
It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you. It's been great speaking to you. I love speaking to people who know what this is all about and been out there in the world doing this very thing. So thank you so much for inviting me on.
No worries at all. Thank you again.
Thank you.